We've covered this in previous videos, but the casting role for a person is very deliberate in how a director wants to portray an on-screen persona. Specific features are taken into account, and thus it's no mistake that Zendaya is cast into youthful roles. From playing high schooler MJ in the Spider-Man universe to a high schooler on 2017 Zapped, there is a trend in the type of roles that she plays. Despite the age difference, her dentofacial structure and neotenous features allow her to convincingly play a high schooler even at 25 years of age. Zendaya is also portrayed as a strong, non-timid figure in her role in the Spider-Man franchise. She doesn't stray away from danger or from not speaking her mind. This is the way that the directors seemingly wanted this version of Mary Jane to be portrayed, as opposed to Kristen Dunst, who served more of a "oh, come and rescue me" love interest role. Instead of touching on her skin quality or symmetry, which are more blatant and universal health genetic markers, we're going to take a look at the facial proportions and features that make Zendaya's face attractive. Zendaya's face has near perfect symmetry and healthy skin, so there isn't much to elaborate on that respect, so you're going to strap in and we're going to go to another episode of Analyzing Celebrity Faces. If we're speaking about Zendaya's neotenous, childlike, but also intimidating and strong looking features, we have to talk about her rounded hairline, which is combined with a short forehead length. While a high forehead can be a neotenous trait, a rounded and lower hairline is going to be perceived as more feminine than a mature M-shaped hairline. We did cover hairline shapes at this video over here, so check that out. Zendaya possesses a rounded hairline, and her upper third is only 30% of her total facial height. This provides Zendaya with a sort of boyish effect. This doesn't necessarily masculinize her face, but it does add a youthful facial trait that is commonly found in young boys that have not experienced any male pattern baldness yet. The next measurable characteristic of her forehead is her bitemporal width. This divides how wide the face is by the width of the hairline. Zendaya has an exceedingly low bitemporal width at 68%, with most clinical facial assessments desiring the 80 to 85 range. However, even slightly upwards of 90% produces an attractive face. This may not be a perfectly ideal percentage, but it adds a unique look and doesn't significantly reduce Zendaya's overall facial attractiveness due to her strong dentofacial development. Next, let's take a look at one of Zendaya's most notable facial features, her face shape. Similar to Hoyeon-jung, she has a wide and short face with a very high facial width to height ratio at 2.16. While this can be associated with decreased perceptions of trustworthiness or being more dishonest, and if you're unfamiliar with what the facial width to height represents, there is strong circumstantial evidence indicating that having a high facial width to height ratio, so having a very short and wide face, does make the face appear more aggressive, dominant, masculinizing, but also less trustworthy and more aggressive looking. This face shape, and essentially the facial width to height ratio, is exactly why Zendaya has an intimidating look, where she can look like a character that will speak her mind and is not going to be a "save me, damsel in distress" type. Hodges, Simeon et al. Discussed, the results also showed that sexual dimorphism in facial width to height ratio emerges early, with sex being a significant predictor even in our juvenile sample. Additionally, a meta-analysis did find significant sexually dimorphic differences in facial width to height, but not as much as physical stature or height, or something like your vocal pitch. One key thing that they did note was a lower brow position may be an important factor in raters' perceptions of aggressiveness, fighting ability, masculinity, dominance, and overall perceived threat in those with higher facial width to height ratios and lower brows. Research on emotion attribution from facial features has shown that lower placed eyebrows are perceived as more threatening and aggressive regardless of the facial expression, and that raters have greater anger recognition accuracy for faces with high facial width to height ratio and greater fear accuracy for faces with low facial width to height ratios. What this means in simple terms, Zendaya has a vertically very short mid-face, and it's very wide out because she has large cheekbones and overall very strong facial development, which gives her a high facial width to height ratio. Now, in faces with high facial width to height ratio, they're already attributed as very more aggressive looking, intimidating, scary looking. Researchers have found that with these already intimidating looking faces, very strong development, very sharp features, humans are much more perceptive to their emotions, especially detecting anger. So if somebody looks scary, you certainly don't want to get them angry, and for that reason you're going to be much more perceptive to any slight hints of anger. And with Zendaya having very low eyebrow placement, due to an overall small eye socket, then it kinda already looks intimidating and you just perceive it as looking more threatening and aggressive, which is why she's never going to be able to play a timid looking character. Her face lends itself better to being more threatening and aggressive looking. Instead of attributing a high facial width to height ratio with these traits in both men and women, we could also examine if the brows are high or low set, and this is what's influencing her aggressive but also intimidating look. This makes a large difference in trait perception because a high facial width to height ratio with medium set brows like Zendaya's and a high facial width to height with very low set brows, even lower than hers, will look very different. Tom Cruise is an example of a high facial width to height ratio, although not quite as high as Zendaya's, and very low set brows. It may also be that low set brows also lead to a higher facial width to height brow calculation, as evident in the study. Zendaya, however, gains her facial width to height ratio due to a compact mid-face and wide cheekbones, similar to Ho Yeon-jung, which we did cover previously. Also, quite similarly, she has a mix of juvenile and dimorphic features that more so align with Western ideals. These ideals include a wider face with traditionally more masculinizing facial proportions. This is achieved through a larger jaw width combined with stronger dentofacial growth, leading to wider, more prominent cheekbones. If you don't believe me that the Western ideals are very different to Eastern ideals, then take Angelina Jolie's face, which is very wide, strong dentofacial features, a very masculine jaw, and then ask an East Asian person if they think she's as attractive as she gets praised for being in the West. In fact, you don't even have to do that. Lucy Liu was considered stubborn, strong-headed, and overall unattractive by Eastern standards, but very dentofacially strong and attractive by Western standards. And I only reiterate the differences because Twitter had a field day with our last evaluation analysis of Ho Yeon-jung, where I mentioned that her features fit more so a Western ideal rather than an Eastern one, and many people did agree with that. That's not a crazy idea. The East prefers more feminized, youthful looking, rounded features. Ho Yeon-jung, even Zendaya have very sharp and strong features that make them look intimidating, and a lot of people don't like that in the East. Which, if you think of their characterization in both of their portrayals, Ho Yeon-jung was also portrayed as an independent and strong woman who was able to fight for herself. Zendaya very much so in the same way. Neither of those characters will ever be portrayed as timid or shy damsels in distress to be saved, just because of the way they look. What we're doing here is not saying that one look is better than the other, but rather explaining precisely why their look is perceived in the way it is in terms of human cognitive psychology. Going back to Zendaya, her jaw width is approximately 90% of her total facial width, which is very wide, very much on par with male models or most masculine looking men. And if you combine this with her lower third height being a bit over that 1/3 mark, it adds to a very strong looking jaw effect and especially sharp mandible outline. This keeps the face looking compact, so you don't have an unusually long horse face, or the medical term I think is anterior facial dysplasia, just off the top of my head, which is one of the components as to why she can still stay neotenous looking or juvenile looking despite having these very masculinizing or intimidating features. Another component to having above average dentofacial growth is a harmonious jaw frontal angle. An internet survey tried to determine what the most harmonious jaw inclination looked like in a frontal view, and we can derive through common sense that the jaw should neither be overly steep or flat because it can indicate a higher than ideal gonial angle or a jaw angle, or some other type of malocclusion like an overbite or an underbite, or some other type of deformity like maxillary canting where your jaw alignment has some kind of unesthetic rotation to it. Zhao et al. Stated that the eyes are the windows of the soul, and then we can consider the eyebrows as the curtains. The eye is a picture of life and the eyebrow is the picture frame. Zhao et al. Study geometrically modeled different combinations of eyebrow shapes, eye shapes, and face shapes to find the most attractive combos. What they concluded was high bending eyebrows with small eyes and a round face, low bending eyebrows with large eyes and a longer face will make the facial image have higher attractiveness scores. So two different archetypes there. Following this, Zendaya leans more to the first example with a high bending eyebrow with smaller almond shaped eyes or cat shaped eyes and a round wide face as opposed to an elongated one. Another study by Pallet et al. Seek to find feature arrangements and spacings that resulted in the most aesthetically pleasing face. As you can see here, as the interpupillary distance changes, the perceived attractiveness of that individual also changes, suggesting that there is an ideal ratio or some kind of proportion there. The most attractive eye separation ratio was about 46% of the total facial width, neither too closely set nor widely set. Unsurprisingly then, Zendaya's eye separation ratio is 45.2%. However, that is one test of harmonious eye spacing, and another test is that eyes should be about one eye width apart. This is following on from the circle of prominence theory, which we made a video on in the past. Her eyes are not perfect in that respect, but they are still very much harmonious. I would wager that deviance is actually what sets her apart from looking too much like a Hollywood stereotype and rather more like a girl next door type, which is exactly how she's portrayed in Mary Jane's characterization. Moving on to Zendaya's side profile, most of her crucial side profile assessments are within the normal scientific ranges and, dare I say, very much ideal in that respect, although she is biracial, so that kind of throws a what is the ideal into question. Lower nasolabial angles near 90 degrees produce more masculine profiles, but a nasolabial angle that is too high is also unaesthetic and can appear too upturned in a front of view. So Zendaya's case, it's quite harmonious, falling within an ideal range. Both Zendaya's total facial convexity and facial convexity itself demonstrate harmonious dentofacial alignment, falling within ideal parameters for Caucasian and African standards because she is biracial. Along with her wide bone structure, it does indicate that her face has very much strong dentofacial development. Zendaya does have a flatter side profile with the nose included, and this is evident from her total facial convexity being higher than one normal standard deviation from the average. Aside from that, all of her facial angles fall within normal ranges of both Caucasian and African averages, so nothing quite unusual there, very much a healthy, developed face. Zendaya has a masculine gonial angle or a jaw angle at 121 degrees, and usually a lower jaw angle are preferred as they produce sharper, less rounded jaws, but this can also masculinize the face, and thus lower is better only to a certain extent. You don't want a 90-degree jaw angle like Minecraft Steve or something. While here at Kuz, we have noted in the past that a jawline of 113 degrees is very similar to the likes of Angelina Jolie or Kareena Kapoor, who are both regarded as beauty standards in the West, and this is because in the West, masculine jaws on women, for whatever reason, are very much the norm and the preferred, whereas in the East, they want more feminine jaw angles of higher than 130 degrees. Those are the extreme of low gonial angles and probably the lower bound for an attractive jaw angle or a gonial angle. The most attractive faces usually lie anywhere from 113 degrees like Angelina Jolie to 130 degrees, and I would argue that this can very much be applied to both men and women. K-pop pretty boys also have very feminine jaws of 130 degrees or more. It's yet to be seen whether one particular jaw angle can undoubtedly be proven as more attractive than the other. It has to harmonize with your facial third, your chin height, your facial features such as your mid-face height, your hairline even, because they lead to different feminine or masculine archetypes. The way I like to describe it is, think of a drill sergeant. You'd expect him to have a very square and masculine jaw, almost 90 degrees, like Minecraft Steve, and compare that to a pretty boy who's in a boy band. You'd expect him to have more feminized features, long hair, eyeliner, clear skin, pretty eyes, and so thus a more feminized jaw, greater jaw angle would also look better on them. This concept ties into the mandibular plane angle, which measures how steep or inclined the jaw is. This is a much less variable number, and most people lie within the normal range of 15 to 30 degrees. Too steep or too flat of a mandible can be indicative of malocclusion and result in noticeably unaesthetic increased lower third height compared with the jaw steepness. Zendaya has a perfectly normal mandible inclination and overall very much harmonious jawline. It's also very lean, so you can actually see where the jawline ends, and like it or not, leanness is an attractive feature on both men and women. To close this video out, we're going to take a brief look at the mouth and nose area. Right off the bat, we have to mention that she has a prominent cupid's bow that adds to the aesthetic of the lips. In terms of ratio, she maintains an ideal lower to upper ratio, where the lower lip should be about 1.5 to 2 times the vertical height of the upper lip, and her nose also maintains a harmonious ratio relative to her mouth. The mouth should be a bit wider than the nose, and this ratio will vary between races, with African noses being a bit larger than Caucasian noses, which are much narrower, and we actually made a video explaining why these nose shape differences even exist in the first place. The mouth width should be wide enough to make contact with the inner part of the pupils. In other words, the oral commissures should be in between the medial end of the iris. The oral fissure size, or the actual mouth opening, can also give us some clues into the palate size, which is very significant in how wide or how well your face actually grows up and outwards during your adolescence. This is very much related to dental-facial growth, which itself is related to your physical aesthetic. And so this is why ideas such as tongue posture or mouth breathing can influence very much how you actually grow and develop. We've covered this ad nauseum in the past. I suggest you look at the video on dental-facial development in regards to diet, because this is very much a common idea there. Zendaya has a specific look and she fits a specific stereotype and archetype in characterization. So when casting directors look at women to cast, they're not going to choose someone that's cute and cuddly looking. Even for men, if you're thinking of a very masculine looking protagonist of a character in the most traditional sense, you're not going to choose Michael Cera to be your lead actor. He knows this, we know this, the directors know this, and that's why Michael Cera traditionally plays comic relief roles or supporting roles in many of his own movies. And a lot of these decisions do have to do with the way you look. So when people say she's just hot, it's not that deep, it is that deep, and I'm explaining exactly why it's that deep through the actual research that's out there. A combination of Zendaya's facial width to height ratio, her brow placement, her very strong dentofacial proportions, and more importantly, her symmetric face, which, as we covered in our video on symmetry, is very well linked to your dentofacial development. So if you have strong dentofacial development, chances are you also have very strong symmetry, because they go hand in hand. And these features, for instance, again, the facial width to height ratio, as the face gets stretched out wider, the eyes get narrower and they look more intimidating, like a feline's eyes. And we also covered this concept when we talked about Jordan Barrett, who's a male model, very much sharp eyes, known as, I don't know, the feline of modeling or some crazy name like that, but a realistic and very much scientific concept that can be explained with actual physical changes in your facial morphology. As one dimension of your face changes, other ones change in response to compensate, leading to a different facial archetype than somebody with a more rounded and narrower face, which is in turn also longer. And this leads to a more babyish or less intimidating looking face. I mean, this is going to sound blunt, but nobody is intimidated by the horse girl in your local high school. When people have the most significant glow-ups, which is around puberty, adolescence, it's very much associated with their physical facial dimensions changing. Their face gets wider, they develop more of a jaw, their face grows out forwards more. These are physical, measurable changes in your dentofacial proportions that can actually influence the way that people perceive you. From shy and nerdy girl to so hot that she's now intimidating doesn't just happen out of thin air. It requires changes to your facial morphology, which for most people happens during puberty, which is why these glow-ups are so significant for them. So there you have it. If you want to get your facial aesthetic or your evaluation assessed in the same way that we did this video, actually a lot more detailed, then order a Koo's facial aesthetic report over at our website to get feedback on how specific facial proportions and alignments relate to the way that you look. And this assessment is conducted by a team of doctors and dentists, so actual medical professionals, who give you feedback after on how you can correct this if you so wish through surgery, non-surgery, or non-invasive methods. All of that and more by our resident doctor, Dr. Sony Sherpa, over at the Koo's website. Also, if you haven't seen our Instagram or TikToks already, I suggest you check it out. It's not just recycled content, it's actually fresh content made for the platform. We put a lot of effort into it, and it would be good if you guys follow us there.